that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Father God, we thank you for this time. Father, we thank you for this time of fellowship. We thank you for this time of understanding. We ask that you bless everyone who is represented here today. Lord, we ask that you just touch them, that they can speak to the masses, Father. We ask that if anything is said here that can lift someone or that can help someone on their journey, we just ask that they continue to be blessed. Father, we thank you for this time of fellowship, and we thank you for allowing us to come together as one on one accord. These things we ask in your sweet Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen and amen. I am just going to ask for everyone to go ahead and mute your microphones. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Tonya, so much for that beautiful prayer. I hope everyone is doing well today. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Thank you for being here. Welcome to another episode of Salon Conversations. This is episode 3. And so excited to be with you all again I'm so excited because Tonya, Dr. Gullette, I've been hearing so many good things about this duo, and we are grateful and thankful to be able to have both of them here today on Salon Conversations episode 3. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Dede Teteh. I am one of the co-investigators for the Bench to Community project. This project is really all about us. It's all about the collective and how all of us can utilize our voices to learn more about the chemicals, the hair and personal care products that we use on a daily basis. How do those chemicals impact our health? And specifically, how does it increase our risk for breast cancer? So this study is about us, it's about Black women, it's about women in general, and really just supporting each other on this journey of learning more about the daily things that we use on the daily basis, and how do we make sound choices, how do we make healthy choices to inform positive health outcomes for us as well as our loved ones and our community as a whole. So I am going to just give a little bit of just to ground all of us. If everyone could, if you come into the meeting as I'm doing this presentation, as I'm doing this opening remarks, please do mute your phones. That would be greatly appreciated. For those that are sending out this last minute invites to invite people to this talk and to this conversation, thank you. Go ahead and send them out and let them know to please, again, mute their phones as they are coming into the meeting. For today's discussion, we're going to ask that you keep your cameras off during the presentation, and during the Q&A, you can bring them back up. We have, again, with us, Maya Walker, who is a PhD student at City of Hope. She is a part of the Division of Health Equities at City of Hope. Thank you so much, Maya, for, again, volunteering to help manage our question section for today's discussion. So if you have any questions throughout this talk, please go ahead and type them into the chat. However, send them to a private message to admin1 questions. So Maya has her name in parentheses, and it should be right up there with all of the co-hosts for this evening. So again, if you have any questions during Salon Conversations episode 3, please utilize admin1 for those questions. I'm going to read a little bit of information about Tonya before we get started. And I am a huge fan of this woman, but I wanted to kind of give you all a bit of context to why I'm such a huge fan, not only because she's an amazing person, an amazing woman, an amazing mother, entrepreneur, all that good stuff, but she's also a certified trichologist, cosmetologist, and naturopathic wellness coach. She is a native of Pasadena and is also the owner of T.S. Fairley Hair Restoration Center and Training Academy. She is also the owner of Strands on Grand. And she's also a former educator of L'Oreal professional. She's a member of the American Hair Loss Council. Her focus is identifying hair loss behind the chair, scalp disease, and product knowledge. She also serves as a very active member, as a very active community stakeholder, as a part of the Bench to Community family. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to your co-host of the, your moderator and host of the hour, and she will go ahead and introduce our very, very special guest, Dr. Shawon Gullette. Tonya, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. That person sounded pretty good there. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are excited about this round of our Bench to Community Salon Conversations. And it's all about bringing the knowledge. It's all about helping people get from not knowing to knowing, even if it's just planting a seed. And so I'm grateful to be a part of this amazing opportunity. And so with this opportunity, I have the pleasure of bringing along some people that I admire in the industry. Being a hairstylist, when you're a hairstylist, you do more than just, do hair. We end up being counselors, therapists, scientists. There's a lot that goes on behind the chair that you necessarily may not know about. But when someone goes out of their way and really tries to extend their knowledge past what they're doing behind the chair, feel like they should be recognized. And I'm so glad and honored to call our guest speaker my friend, Dr. Shawon Gullette. She is from Ohio. She is a doctor of naturopathic medicine. She has been working to prevent hair loss in the Dayton area for now, I think it's about almost 30 years. She has a salon, Infinity Salon and Spa in Dayton. And she also has the Dayton Trichology Hair Loss Clinic. And if that's not enough, she's also an author of a book called Hormones and Hair Loss. And for any of you who may be experiencing anything, shifts in hormones, especially women as we get to a certain age, her book really helped me out to help understand the people that I was servicing behind the chair. So without any further ado, I will bring on my good friend, Dr. Shawon Gullette. Come on in.
Can you see me?
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
We are doing well. We are doing well. Thank you for joining us today.
Great. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So why don't you I gave you a nice little intro there, but tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So as Tonya mentioned before, I'm a doctor of naturopathic medicine and also a certified trichologist. Here in Dayton, I operate Dayton Trichology, which is a hair loss control center for men, women, and children that are experiencing hair loss. One of my main core objectives is to get to the root cause of the hair loss by looking at the different body systems within the body, and to also educate the patients on the correlation between their body and also their hair loss. And like Tonya mentioned before, I'm the author of Hormones and Hair Loss, and what made me actually look at or entertain the idea of doing a book of such is that I was actually going through hormonal changes myself, and a lot of my clients were doing the same. So that's a little bit about myself, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, Tonya.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate this time. Let's see here. Dede, let's see who. You guys got to forgive me because my internet is deciding that it doesn't want me to be great today. But you know what? The devil is a liar, and we're gonna keep it moving, right?
Amen. How can I help?
Okay. So we can go ahead and go to the first. So one of the reasons why we're here, we're talking about scalp diseases and scalp disorders. And oftentimes people don't realize that a lot of things that affect us start with the products that we're using. not just topical, right, Dr. Gullette, but also the things that we put in our body.
Absolutely.
Right. So when you're talking about scalp diseases and scalp disorders, from our side, what Dr. Gullette and I do, we look from the inside out, right? So we start to dissect what's going on, what you're eating, what your habits are, your environment. But then we also have to take a look at the different products that that people are using. And I asked Dr. Dede to make sure this slide was in here, because a lot of times people don't realize that some of the things that we think are safe or good to use actually are the main things that can add harm to not just our outward body, but to our inward body.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, we talk about this product. So if you take a look at this chart, take a look at, what do you think? It says, which product is the most hazardous? And we're talking about hazardous. We're talking about chemicals with the highest health hazards, the products with 10 or more chemicals linked to chronic health effects, and products with fragrance chemicals linked to chronic health effects. And you take a look, we have the Kaboom, which is a household cleaners. We have the Just For Me hair milk, which is a product that is geared towards children, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Brazilian keratin therapy, which is a popular product by this company that is geared towards strengthening our hair. And if we take a look at what this chart shows us, take a look at the number of chemicals represented in each one of these products. Right? So the Kaboom has 229 total number of chemicals. The Just For Me has 196. And then you have a hair product with 208 number of chemicals. Dr. Dede, would you like to say something about this slide? I know I put her on the spot there.
Yeah, sure. So, hey, Tonya. So the main takeaway from this slide that we shared previously in our Salon Conversations, and I appreciate Tonya for bringing this slide back up to our remembrance, is the take-home message is essentially the products that are targeted towards Black women have hazardous chemicals, have the highest number of hazardous chemicals. And this is intentional, right? So a lot of these companies will target Black women because we spend over $1.2 trillion is the latest statistics, and we will be spending upwards of $1.5 trillion by 2021 on the cosmetic industry alone. And that is intentional, that is purposeful, because they do target us the most, and we spend our money in these industries the most. However, as you can see on the slide, and I say this unfortunately, is because I will, just by looking at the number of chemicals that are on the slide, the Kaboom product versus the Just For Me product, you're better off using a cleaner that you clean the tub or your toilet with than actually utilizing a product that is meant for caring for children's hair. And I say that because if you look at the numbers, you have 229 products and then 196 products in a children's product. Right? But if you look at the number of chemicals linked to chronic disease, you'll see that the children's product actually has the highest number of chemicals linked to chronic disease. And that should give all of us pause. So I think while we have seen this slide before, every time you look at information like this, it should give you pause, and it also should remind you as why it's important for you as a Black woman, it's important for you as a Latina, it's important for you as a person of color to make sure that you know what is in the products that you are using, not just on yourself, but also the products that you're using on your children's hair, the products that you're buying for your husband or your wife, etc. So we really have to, again, be reminded that unfortunately the products that are targeted towards Black women specifically and other people of color are not good for our health. And throughout this conversation that we're going to have, we're going to talk a bit more. Tonya and Dr. Gullette are going to talk a bit more about why, you know, we may potentially be having some of the issues that we're having with our scalp. Could our products potentially be the source of that? So I think hopefully that is what you wanted me to say, Tonya. So I'm going to go back on mute. And I can talk about this all day. However, point blank period, check your products. I was just talking to one of our consultants today, Aisha Murphy, awesome woman of God. And we basically was like, flip the damn thing around and read behind it, read your ingredients. I apologize for anyone in the audience that feel offended by the word use damn, but at this point, let's get damn products around. That is all for this public service announcement. Take it back, Tonya.
I love it. I love it. No, that's, you know, that was the reason why I wanted this back in, because, you know, oftentimes, and Dr. Gullette, tell me, when people come into your clinic and they say to you, oh, I've tried 1,000,001 products and nothing works.
Mm-hmm.
What is that one question that you ask them to when you're talking about product? What do you ask them?
Well, a lot of times I'll ask them what
Uh-oh. Hold on, she's muted.
She's on mute.
It just went back on mute for some reason. And it's not letting me unmute her.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
There, we can hear you now. Don't be touching no buttons. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so a lot of times when I'm doing a consultation, I will ask them what particular products are they using? Are they designed for us and our hair? It depends on, you know, the ethnicity of that particular client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things I'll ask them too, they'll say, oh, this is making my scalp itch. And first thing I say is, do you have any allergies? Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
People don't understand that you could have an allergy to a food. And if it's in your hair product, it can create a sensitivity. It can lead to a disorder and then eventually to a disease.
Correct.
So and just like Dede said, flip the dang on bottle over, take a look at what you're putting in there. And I always say, if there's too many ingredients that you cannot pronounce,
you shouldn't be using it.
You should not be using it. And if fragrance is number 4 or number 50, you got to take a step back, because fragrance is definitely something that is full of toxic compounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're talking about scalp diseases and scalp disorders, what do you think are some of the most common ones, Dr. Gullette?
Oh, wow. Whew. We see a lot of them, from seborrheic dermatitis, psoriasis. There are a lot that we see. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it goes back to sometimes the products that they're using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of times people don't realize that products create these issues, the disorders, and the diseases, right? So
Absolutely.
What I like to say is, you know, if you're going to start experimenting with things and you're going to start, you know, changing things up and mixing things, know what it is you're doing first before you start on that journey. So when I say that, I mean, for example, when we talk about, a lot of times I have clients who are allergic to avocado, which for some reason has become a very popular thing to be allergic to these days. And I would just die. If I was allergic to avocado, I think I would die. But then they come and they say, well, I want to come in for analysis, and they're itching, and I always have them bring their products in. And then I say, okay, do you have any allergies? And they'll say coconuts, avocado, grass. Mm-hmm. And then I look at their product. Product has avocado oil, coconut oil, and what's the grass? I forgot the name of it. But all these oils that are derived from things that they are allergic to. Do you find that happens to you too?
I do, and I've had a few of the patients at the clinic that a lot of times they don't know what they're allergic to, or if they do know, they don't really disclose it. So like you said, we have to ask, but a lot of times these things that they're allergic to cause really serious issues on the scalp that ultimately leads to hair loss, and we see it so many times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then when you tell them like, okay, well, you know, you got to stop using this, and they'll be like, what's their first response? But that's my favorite. Or
Yeah.
I paid a lot of money for that, right?
Yeah. Sometimes they're willing to jeopardize the health of their scalp and their hair just to be able to use that particular product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've seen that too, where like for me, for example, I have a sensitivity to coconut oil. Now I can use a lotion or something all over my body that has coconut oil. But if I put it on my scalp, it's like you done set a match on my scalp and it just itches and burns and I'm like scratching and scrubbing. And I used to be one of those, but it's good for me. So I need to until I learn better. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
That's good.
Now tell me, now I know for me in my clinic, I'm very particular on what situations that I do take in. What is that client that walks in the door for you with that scalp disorder or disease that you just know that you know that you know that you are going to be able to give them some relief or help them out with? What does that look like for you? You can't hear me?
Okay, you was muted for some reason. You were muted.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying, what does that, you know, when clients come in and you know, we take care of a lot of different types of clients, but what is that one thing that when they call you and they say, you know, Dr. Shawon, I really need help with this, that you just get like, you know, like you get that feeling, like you know, like what is that? What does that look like for you? Is that a disorder or is that a disease? Which one of them is it?
You know, Tonya, it's really a combination of both. I would say for the most part, recently I've been seeing a lot of disorders, more so than diseases. I've been seeing a lot of disorders, and you hear them so often, so frequently that it's like, okay, I already know what they're dealing with. I know what's going on, but you wait for them to come in so you can actually look at it and take a scope and get that diagnosis that you need to get.
Mm-hmm. But is there that one, like for me, when a client comes in with alopecia areata or CCCA, I'm like, yeah, because I know what I know, and I know what they've been told, and I know what we can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would say for me, for me, it's telogen effluvium. So when they have that telogen effluvium, that TE, it's like, okay, I'm ready. And it's like I'm ready to roll my sleeves up and just dive right into it. And I get really excited because it's like, okay, let me go ahead and educate them and then make sure they understand, you know, exactly what's going on and why they're experiencing that type of hair loss. And so it starts with, you know, looking at the whole body, you know, as a whole. But that particular one, I think it just gets me excited.
So we have a question, Dr. Gullette. Go ahead and tell them what that telogen effluvium is.
Sure. So TE is, I use that term because a lot of times ladies come in, they're experiencing hair loss all over the entire scalp. Mm-hmm. And it can come from so many different things. It can come from stress. It can come from diet. It can come from absorption, digestion. It can come from mineral deficiencies. It can come from medications. There's so many things that can cause that. And because I've been experiencing so many different patients that have come in with that, that's just not, I shouldn't use the term one of my favorites, but it's one of the ones that, you know, I've really kind of nailed down how to get to the root cause of that and to encourage more of a diameter change within the hair shaft.
And so what people, and what we say this all the time, and to everyone listening, is this: if your hair is shedding, falling out, or breaking, the first place that we need to look at is where? The gut, right? We got to find out what's going on in that digestive system, because you can tell me that your hair is falling out and you've bought every single product on the market topically, but if you're not changing anything on the inside, you're going to keep experiencing what's going on. So when we talk about these scalp diseases and scalp disorders, especially from a trichologist side, and for those of you that don't know what trichology is basically the study of, and when I say the study, it's not just reading a book. It is actively going in there and taking a look at scalp diseases and scalp disorders, still being able to guide clients with hair, but now we're looking at what's really going on underneath that top layer of your skin. So we're looking at how your follicles are producing. We're looking at what's going on in your gut. We're looking at blood analysis. We are looking at so many things to help narrow down what is causing your hair loss. Most of trichologists work from a holistic side. So you're not going to hear us, trying to pump you up with a bunch of things that won't serve you. Is that good? Did I say that right?
You did.
We're not big on, medication has its purpose and its place, but when you go to see a trichologist, that means that you're ready to put in the work, and the work starts on the inside out. So as Dr. Shawon was talking about the TE, it's looking at the whole picture. So you have this scattered hair that's happening. And it's like if you're standing right in front of someone, it's like they could see across the street, even though you have hair on your head, right? Is that a good?
That's a very good analysis. Very good analysis.
Okay. All right. So we talked about TE for Dr. Shawon. Can you say what your average age is in your clinic?
Sure. Tonya, when I first started, I would say that I really seen basically women that were middle-aged women, middle-aged to older women. And unfortunately, I see a lot of children now. I see a lot of young girls coming in, maybe the age of 7, 8, 9. And it's just, that's a new norm for trichology in my area, because I've always had women come in middle age that were dealing with hormone issues or that were dealing with genetic hair loss. But now I'm seeing a lot of children come in.
And children, and this is a thing, a lot of times, there's things that are hereditary. There are minor adjustments that need to be made depending on where you live, the environment. And so there's a lot that goes into scalp diseases and scalp disorders. So I always tell people it's not that simple with just pulling something off the shelf, right? How many times have you gotten people that say, oh, I'm taking hair and nail vitamins, hair, nail, skin vitamins. And then you ask them, you're saying, why are you taking that? Well, I don't know. I want my hair to grow. So we're constantly reminding people that your hair grows on a cycle. You can't speed it up. It can slow down or it can be interrupted because of stress, hormones, right? And biotin. I love the biotin one, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's like the popular one, right? People are taking biotin. You say, why are you taking biotin? And they say, well, because it'll make my hair grow. And then we have to tell them, if your body is not lacking in vitamin B in biotin, you're taking it, it's rejecting it. That's with anything. Absolutely. If you're not, and if you haven't had a blood test that tells you that you need biotin, please leave the biotin alone.
That's true. I have so many people that come in and that's the first thing. And they're so proud, like, oh, I use biotin, so I don't know why I'm losing hair. But I tell them that there was a study done in 1972 where biotin was used on infants. And so it helped infants with hair loss. But us as adults, like you said, if we don't have a deficiency, then biotin won't do anything for us. And if it does, it's not for hair loss, but it's to support the health of your hair.
Mm-hmm. It supports the health of your hair, and any type of supplement. There's a difference between vitamins and supplements, right? So when people are taking vitamins, they're basically grabbing something off the shelf, reading it, saying, oh, let me try this. But when someone is taking a supplement, that means that their body is lacking in a particular area by having their blood work analyzed, because that's when you're going to get supplements, because your blood work says that you're lacking in vitamin C, vitamin D, your ferritin is low, your thyroid is low. Whatever it is that your body is lacking, that's what supplements are for. Vitamins you grab off a shelf, supplements, you're really honing in on what your body is lacking. And oftentimes, you know, and it's tough, I get it. Nobody wants to lose their hair, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the cycle of life. So our hair goes through a cycle, and depending on how high or how low your stress is during that time of shedding will determine if you can see the retention or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a tough thing to explain to people?
It is, and I definitely agree. And it's just really hard for them to see the correlation between the two.
Yeah, it's tough. It's always funny and always interesting when you have people come in and I tell them to bring me everything they're on and everything they're using in their hair. And it's like, Lord, it's like Fred Sanford say, I'm feeling the big one. I'm feeling the big one.
Yeah.
Oh, anything else you want to add there, Dr. Shawon?
You know, I just noticed that a lot of times when they do come in for consultations, it's like pulling teeth to get information, and they don't understand the seriousness of being transparent with their health, with their medications they're on, or any journey that they went through within their life within 5 or 6 years of coming in. So it's like you have to play detective to get that information, because where we know that if you're not having regular bowel movements, that's really important. They don't understand that there's a correlation between regular bowel movements and hair loss. So they care not to disclose that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like you said, it's really a challenge sometimes getting them to open up and to share, you know, what it is that's going on from a medical standpoint, or just as simple as digestion, or if they're getting enough sleep, and what medications they're on.
Mm-hmm. All of these things, I tell people this all the time. It's like when you go to your doctor and your doctor says, okay, are you taking anything outside of what I've given you? And then they say no. And then halfway through the consultation, they're like, oh, you know what? 2 weeks ago, I started on da, 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 da. Well, that 2 weeks of you taking this particular vitamin or supplement could have a direct correlation into why part B ain't working like it's supposed to, or A and B aren't working together. Mm-hmm. You know, like even in the hair world, right? So there's this common thing. We talk about henna, and as natural as henna is, if you have put henna in your hair in the last year, 2 years, and you go into the hair salon and you want to get your hair done, 98% of stylists will tell you, I will not touch you. Because although henna is natural, it still has a chemical reaction to hair color, right? It's the same concept of when someone is taking way too much vitamin D or way too much vitamin B, right? Your body is not going to process it the way it needs to. It's going to reject it because your body doesn't need it. And so if your body doesn't need it and you keep giving it something, eventually something else is going to stop working correctly, right? So we talk about natural approaches. That very good. Thank you so much. This is really, really good. I'm so excited about this. I went on mute again. It says I'm unmuted. What's going on? Can you hear me now?
You were muted. Yeah, you were muted again for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It just keeps going back and forth on its own. But I was just saying that I'm just so excited about this. And Maya, do we have any questions so far about scalp disorders and scalp diseases? Does anybody have a question there? No? Well, if you guys have any questions, please, by all means, don't be afraid to ask them. This is the place. You're going to send it to admin 1 questions to Maya, and she will filter them to us so that we can get them answered for you, because this is information that's for you. This is information that will help you on your journey in the event that you start to even experience hair loss. I tell people, my clients are very well aware, like, do you tell your clients too, Dr. Shawon, like, if you are contemplating going on a diet of any kind or having surgery, you got to let us know.
That's true.
Right?
When I do my consults and we have that monthly checkup, those are some of the questions I ask. And once again, they don't understand the importance of us knowing that, because if you're not in compliance with the treatment regimen, and meaning not just being in compliance as to the tools or the things that we've recommended, but just your diet changes, or if you have an acute stress, those are things that we really need to know, because it can change the trajectory of the whole outlook of your hair growth.
Now I have one for you. Someone texted me a question and it says, well, Tonya, I've been taking prenatals for my hair loss for the last 9 months. And I said, are you pregnant? You wanna address that one?
I sure can. So, as with any vitamin, if your body's not asking for it, when you take it, it's just being thrown away. It's just kind of leaving out the body. So I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm taking prenatals, this is going to make my hair grow. If your body doesn't need what's in those prenatal vitamins, it's not going to help you speed up your hair growth at all.
That's one of those myths, right, that we talk about.
Yeah.
That you cannot supplement what you don't need.
That's correct.
Right?
That is so true, yes.
And so what happens is that it's like them old wives' tales. And I love when people really want to know the truth and they're really open to hearing about they have to change something, they have to adjust their diet, and when we say diet, we're not saying go get on keto, paleo, we're not against it. But if you adjust your eating habits to give yourself the nutrients that your body needs, it'll take care of everything else. You just have to have the mindset to do that. Let's see, I have another question here. Let's see. All right. Says, since some hair loss is normal due to the hair cycle, how do we know that hair loss is an issue? And how can we know if it's too much? So I'll take part of that question. On a regular basis, so on the natural, a person who if you have like just a natural amount of hair loss, you should see anywhere between 75 to 100 strands daily, right? So that's how we shed. That's a natural shedding process. It's not a myth. Now, if a client says, I'm losing hair by the gobs, but they only brush, touch, or wash their hair once a week or once every 2 weeks, then my next question is, do you think you have about 500 strands of hair in your hand? And when they say no, then I know you're fine, right?
Yeah.
So you got to think of it that way. If you break it down on a daily basis, if you are losing hair, if your hair is shedding naturally, you're going to see about 75 to 100 strands on a daily basis. But if you don't wash your hair, touch your hair, or do anything to your hair on a daily basis, then you're going to see a more amount on a weekly basis. But even that weekly basis can be measured.
Sure. And it's one of the tools that I use is that when a person calls in and they schedule a consultation, most of the time it's about a week or two before I can get them in, but I have them take sandwich bags and label them like day 1, day 2, day 3. And so as their hair sheds, they put that hair inside the bag. So each day they bring those bags in, and I can help them to see that if it's natural or if it's normal shedding or if it's not success.
That's good. I need to incorporate that. They bring me the brush. No, that's good. That's a good way to have, and then they can see, they'll be able to see like, okay, well, this is normal or this is not normal. That's really good.
Correct.
Now, I tell people all the time, if you're on heightened stress, right? If you're going to be on heightened stress, yes, you're going to see the shedding a little bit more, but then you have to understand if you're shedding, are you retaining, right? Because retention is very important, right? Because sometimes you can go through a shedding phase, but you're not retaining anything. And that's when you know that something inside is going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It says, is there a test to determine if you have permanent damage to hair follicles? How do we look at that, Dr. Shawon?
Yeah, so for me, if most of the time, if I see permanent damage, it's only because I've used a scope a lot of times when you have permanent damage, there's some things that we see like scarring, especially if it's not the early stages. If it's the later stages, we'll see that there's scarring there, which looks a totally different color. In the onset, a lot of times it's just shiny, like just skin with no hair follicles at all. And that's how we kind of like diagnose if it's more of a permanent type of hair loss. And we're even careful with that because a lot of times there's so much inflammation that it looks to be permanent until we can kind of get that inflammation down some.
Yes, yes. So, and that's the thing, right? It's like, you know, we have been trained. We don't go against what, you know, if you went to the doctor and the doctors told you, okay, there's nothing we can absolutely do with you. But then you come to a trichologist that knows what they know from a holistic standpoint. We know that we need to reduce some inflammation. We know we got to get some stimulation going in a different way. So it may appear to be one thing, but when you start taking that natural approach to finding out and uncovering, as we all say, get to the root cause, then oftentimes we get these results that even sometimes the dermatologists were like, whoa, wow, that was good. Because that's our specialty, right? So trichologist's specialty is the scalp. That is our scalp and our hair. That's what we focus on. Dermatologists, they focus on all the skin. And so for us, we have a little bit more data. We have a little bit more of the approach to say, okay, well, let's reduce this to see what's going on here. Right?
That's right. Yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go for it. You're fine.
No, you go.
I was just going to say that when you talk about natural approaches, it just sets us apart from modern day medicine, right? Because although it's needed, I definitely feel that people are now in this day and age more willing and open to be on a natural journey to get themselves rid of any toxins and all that stuff. And it really makes a difference. And I tell people, when we talk about hair restoration and scalp disorders and scalp diseases, it's a marathon. It is not a speed. You ain't getting there in 2 minutes. You know, you got to be mentally prepared for the journey.
That's right. That's so true. I was just going to say, I think when you were speaking about the difference between a dermatologist and a trichologist, a lot of times when I speak to dermatologists, I give them the analogy that we look at things from the inside out, and they look at hair loss from the outside in. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge difference between the two, because we're working from the inside out. They're just looking from the outside going in, which is a totally different perspective. And then the other thing I was going to say was I had a lady that came in that had a lot of hair loss, and the derm told her there was, you know, basically nothing they could do, and that, you know, coming to me would be more so a waste of money, so to say, because it appears she had no hair follicles at all. Make a long story short, I reduced a lot of the inflammation, did a lot of stimulating, and I got her hair to grow back. And so to this day, that derm and I, you know, we co-managed a lot of hair loss together because he was so pleased, he just couldn't believe it. And I was shocked myself too, because once again, speaking about, you know, inflammation, a lot of times it appears that there's no hair follicles at all.
Mm-hmm. And that's, people don't understand, is like inflammation. What causes inflammation? There's so many things that can cause inflammation. If you have a high salt content, if you have diabetes, if you have any type of imbalance, your body's going to swell. You're holding that water, you're holding that sodium, right? It gets held in your scalp. People don't understand that, you know. Ponytail, something as simple as wearing a ponytail in the same spot every single day will cause inflammation, right? So being able to look at it under the scope as we do, we're able to see so much more than just things that the eye takes a look at. So here we have a question, because we're talking about natural approaches to solving scalp issues. Another question is, this one wants to know, what are some natural treatments for dandruff to avoid using chemical shampoos? When when they say chemical shampoos, I'm just going to think that they're talking about, there's not a chemical per se shampoo, but there are treatment shampoos for dandruff, like Head and Shoulders, T-gel. So there are different types of treatment cleansers that I do use, but there are natural remedies that are useful that we start with first. Do you have something that you want to share, Dr. Gullette?
Sure. One of the things I like to do is make a tea tree shampoo. A lot of times the tea tree shampoos will help, depending on the severity of the dandruff. And then once again, I'm sure you agree with this. You know, there's that piece of using the tea tree shampoos or just some different holistic shampoos, but ultimately looking at what's going on inside the body that can be causing, the dandruff.
And see, we always go back to the gut, right? It's like, yeah, we can look at this. We see this dandruff up here, but dandruff is it's not just because of something you're putting on top. It's something that it could be that your body is overproducing sebum, right? And if you're overproducing sebum, you start to get that smell, right? You're washing your hair, but you're not really you're not really cleansing it, right? So I like ACV. At that apple cider vinegar rinse, 1 part apple cider vinegar, 3 parts water, it never fails me, and there can be discussions all day long. There was a study done back in 2002 that said, oh, using that will dry out your hair. But it also in the same study said it helps with psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis. So if I have a client that's venturing on that way where I could tell, I start to see that sebum build up, that apple cider vinegar water is like gold for me. And clay mask really help. Yes. We big on that clay mask, put that little bit in there and another question, it says here, I've heard streaks. So this question is about locks, but what the part of the question that I want to address is, what are the most common hair scalp problems you've seen with locks? And the biggest thing with locks for me is traction alopecia. So for those of you who are lock wearers, braid wearers, ponytail wearers, traction alopecia, and basically traction, you literally are pulling the follicle, the hair right out of the follicle from all the stress and the tension. Oftentimes locks become very, very heavy and people don't rest them. So my lock clients come in a little bit more often. So we do scalp cleansing, and I make sure that they rest them, meaning put them up in a ponytail. When they start to get too heavy, it's time to clip them. 90% of my lock clients are very clean. So they're very aware of the fact that they need to cleanse their scalp. Steaming the locks, that's something that, it's either there or not. If that's something that you like doing, that's fine. It does help to condition, like soften them up a bit, but the locks, the scalp care is the biggest issue when it comes to locks for me. What about you, Dr. Gullette?
I agree with you. A lot of times when people have locks, one, they don't shampoo or clean their scalp enough. A lot of times as the locks grow, they're really heavy. So they're pulling on the scalp and causing inflammation and folliculitis. So as a result of those things, a lot of those clients or patients will see more hair loss coming from the locks. And like you said, that scalp care is so important. And then the weight, the pulling from the locks.
Yes. Wow, this has been really good questions, everyone. Thank you so much. It's been good. It's this is one of those topics that a lot of people don't talk about, they wonder about, and then they don't know where to go exactly for the answer. So I'm glad that we were able to provide this platform. Dr. Gullette, what is your specialty in your clinic?
I would say, can I name 3 or just you want me to name one?
Go for it. No, you're good.
So of course, TE, like I mentioned before, I love to really just dig in deep. And as you mentioned, starting with the gut and moving on out. And then the androgenetic hair loss.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times I'll get women that come in that are dealing with more of the traction. And if I get it in the early stages, I feel really comfortable with helping them. And like I said, that's the early stages.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah,
those are my three favorites.
yeah. See, I think for me, I get the traction, and it's something about that traction when I can help stimulate, reduce that inflammation, stimulate that scalp, and get them on a regimen. It's like they're not going back into braids and weaves and ponytails because they start to see the difference, you know. And when you're approaching it from the way that we approach it, you get a better result versus just going and buying something to wash your hair with, because it's a little bit more than that. So
That's right.
yeah, this has been good. This has been one of the most informative conversations that I've had when we're talking about scalp and skin disorders and diseases, because it's a quiet taboo until somebody brings it up, right? So again, we want to give the audience time to ask any questions or chime in if you have anything. And if you don't, that's great. You can always contact me. My information has been on the Facebook, the Bench to Community. Dr. Gullette will post her information also. But we definitely know that if you start to take care of your scalp and you start from the inside out, it helps to prevent the spread of other diseases and disorders. And it's all about prevention. Let's see here. Oh yeah, they just put us up there. Let's see. I think we get that. All right. Thank you for your. All right. Dr. Dede, I know you on the backside there. Oh wait, I have another question. Am I seeing clients for consultations during the COVID-19 restrictions? Yes, I am, but no, I'm not. So what that means is I am doing virtual consultations. These definitely do help because it helps to get clients jump started, but nothing takes place of an actual scoping and scalping. There are some things that I do have my clients do prior to our virtual consultation so that I can get you as much accurate information as possible. What about you, Dr. Gullette?
I had been seeing, because we don't have the restrictions here in Ohio. So I have been seeing patients, but by the numbers going up the way that they are going up,
yeah,
I just changed that. So
yeah.
we're focusing on not seeing them at all.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that we have to all be very, very clear about, right? Protecting ourselves during this time and understanding that things are happening in our world. And as much as we may want to help you and get you to the next level, there's some adjustments that have to be made. So like I said, I do virtual consultations and they work out well. And the more information you give me, the better off I am at helping you. All right, so let's see. Do we have any more questions? Let me check Maya. Maya, are we good? I think we're good. All right. So thank you all for your questions and thanks for joining us. As a token of our appreciation, we have previously selected 4 attendees to receive a $25 gift card to Strands Hair Studio. And what I say is, I have a Strands Hair Studio, I have Strands on Grand, and then I also have my product line, which is Strands Unlimited. You can use your gift card towards purchases, a product purchase. You can use your gift card towards a consultation. You can use your gift cards towards anything that has to do with me. So don't worry about it. And our 4 lucky winners I can't even talk right now, huh? Our 4 lucky winners are Kimber Slater, Talisa Blackman, TQ Faison, and Carolyn Galloway. Congratulations to all of you. Yes, awesome. Maggie says, thank you so much for this great discussion. I have to go. Thank you, Maggie, for attending. We really, really appreciate it. Someone just asked, shall I sign up for the virtual consultation on my website? you cannot, no one can sign up on the website, but what you can do, let me put my phone, Dr. Dede, can you put the 818 number in the, oh, I can put it in the chat. I don't know, I should be working this stuff. Okay, here we go. So my 818, my office number for consultations, there we go, is in the chat. So yes, you can contact me and we can make arrangements to do a virtual consultation. You are very welcome. Dr. Shawon, would you like to say anything?
No, I just want to thank you and the rest of the members of the group for the opportunity of allowing me to come on and join you guys for this discussion. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And before we end today's conversation, I want to thank Dr. Dede Teteh and Dr. Lindsey Trevino for your leadership on this project, for allowing me to be a part of your world, because I look up to you guys, and I'm so grateful and honored to be a part of what you guys are doing and how you're making a difference in the African American communities and the Latino communities, and really trying to work towards helping women understand, not just understand what goes on in their body, but also understanding the things that help to prevent certain diseases. So for that, I do appreciate you. Maya, thank you so much as always for fielding those questions and being there. I really do appreciate you. And to our newest volunteer, Jasmine Tapia, thank you so much for joining the team and helping out. I will now turn it over to Dr. Lindsey for the closing remarks.
Okay, wow. That was a great conversation that we had today. Thank you, Tonya, for your continued drive and support of this project and within the community. And I just have to say that I have such an admiration and appreciation for what you do. And I didn't know that much about trichology, and I'm learning so much from you. And I think that it's just amazing that we're a part of this collaboration together. And I'll probably be calling your 818 number and be like, okay, let me tell you, because my hair is graying. But anyway, we won't talk about that. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and just being a part of this project, because this project couldn't really have gotten off the ground without you. And I'd also like to thank our guest, Dr. Gullette, for your willingness to join us for today's discussion. It was really, really interesting to hear what expertise you brought to the table. And it was really interesting to hear you and Tonya kind of go back and forth like, yeah, that's what I see. That's what I see. And so it really, you ladies provided some really great information for everybody on this call. And I'm really excited to see, what we can do together moving forward. And just a plug for local businesses in general. So part of the Salon Conversations, part of the mission of the Salon Conversations is that we're, putting it out there about local businesses, especially Black-owned businesses. And so this, when we bring someone onto the Salon Conversations, it's because we believe in what the work they do and we support them. And so we want you to support them as well. And with that, I'll say thank you to everyone for joining today's Salon Conversation. And you can stay tuned to our social media accounts at Bench to Community for future events. And we cannot end this conversation without a call to action, of course. So
yes,
we have the link to our community survey in the chat. So if you go to this link, then you can be a part of the movement that we're trying to create here, being a part of research and lending your voice to academic research in an area that is really important for Black and Brown communities. And so please, please, please do the survey. I took it. It doesn't take that long. And I told my family about it and they were like, oh, that was easy. And so it doesn't take that long, and it's really, really helpful for us to learn more about what is going on in the community and how you feel about your products and breast cancer risk. And also know what's in your products. So here are some apps that you can download. the Think Dirty app, the Environmental Working Groups Healthy Living app, and then the Detox Me app. And in our first Salon Conversations, we did discuss some of the pros and cons of some of these apps, but they are good starting points for what to look for. And just know that, you know, sometimes something will pop up as something that's not very good for you. But if you do a little more digging, you'll say, oh, okay, you know, it's because they do a blanket, you know, if it has X, then it's this bad. But these are good places to start if you have no idea what to, you know, what to look for. And I use the Think Dirty app and the Environmental Working Groups Healthy Living app all the time. And then voting. So participating in the legislative process is an act of self-care, is something that Dr. Teteh says all the time, and it's very true. If you want to make an impact on what's going on in policy, and especially for policies that impact Black and Brown communities, then vote. And we know that November 2020 is coming up. We've got Dr. Teteh saying we are 99 days away from November. Need I say more? So we mention this quite often, but it really is true. If you don't go out there and vote, then I mean, how can you complain about how things are, right? So you want a voice. Voting is a very powerful voice, especially if we all vote together. And with that, oh, okay. The chat's going crazy. So with that, we'll just stay in touch at Bench to Community. And thank you so much for joining us. This was a really excellent conversation. Thanks again to our moderator, Tonya, and thanks again to our guest, Dr. Gullette. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.